All right, this is a much better video, I think, for you guys. Only 5 hands to review. Some of them are short, but they're all very important and good lessons to learn. Now, just a note, if you see from this session that I just had, hold on. I don't know why Zoom doesn't share my whole screen, and I have to choose everything from the meeting controls with a new share. Hold on. There we go. If you see here, unfortunately, this is not a great session I just had. I lost $64. However, if you'll notice, my adjusted expected value was 148. So I swung about $200 worse than I should have expected. I played well. I actually played above my average. Where I was my expected win rate was 23.90 big blinds per 100 hands, but unfortunately, I ran bad, as you'll see one example here. What does, by the way, this mean? All in adjusted? It can't adjust. It can't figure out what percentage of each pot should be mine in general, because it doesn't know what the other person's hands are, and it's not sophisticated enough to do that. What it can do, however, is whenever we get all in, it could break it down to percentage of what I could expect to win and attribute that to me regardless of how much I win. For instance, let's say I get it all in with pocket aces against pocket deuces. And so I have, and let's say we get it all in for exactly $100. And then in that scenario, I have about 80% equity. I should win about 80% of the time. So it'll give me $80 as an all-in adjusted credit. And that means if I win the pot and I win 100, then I would get credit for 100 and how much money I actually won over here. But I'd lose $80. But I'd only get credit for $80 here because that's my expected share of that money is 80%. And if I lost, then even though I'd lose 100 real dollars, still my all-in adjusted would be a positive $80, meaning that based on the all-in, my equity when I got it all in, I should have expected $80 on average. So you can see, at least given the all-ins, whether you're running good or bad. Obviously today I ran horribly. I'm pleased with how I played, but not pleased with the results. But let's look at a bunch of hands because I think these are some really good hands for you guys to take a look at, and they should be quicker than the other one also, and more interesting. Okay. Here's an interesting one. This is a hand I want you to see. It's going to be about the power of position and the power of putting your opponent on a range. Okay, we have pocket tens on the button, so you know we're excited about anything on the button that we can play. I raise to $1.25, and again, I raise, that's 2.5 times the big blind. That's my standard raise from the button. I raise smaller. I do that because it allows me to steal a lot more often or play hands in the button for less expensive. And if they 3-bet me, if they re-raise me, because I'm going to be doing this with a lot of hands. I've been doing this with as low as Jack-9 off. So probably 40 to 45% of my hands I'll be raising here. So I'll do that with all my hands, good and strong. Pocket tens being one of the strongest hands I can have. But that way, if they 3-bet me, I keep them honest because they don't know whether I'm doing it with my weaker hands or with my stronger hands. So so in this situation, they simply call. Flop comes Jack 7-7. Now, when you do range analysis, which we're going to talk about next time, you're going to ask yourself, does this range hit him more or me more? So now, so this range doesn't hit me very well. Now, it happens to be that I'm at the top of my range. Pocket tens is one of the better hands I can have. I also have all kinds of ace kings, ace queens, ace tens, queen 10. I have a million different hands that I could have that missed this. So he doesn't know necessarily that I missed this, that I have a good hand here. Although I'm still behind any Jack or any 7. Based on his calling range, however, he does have jacks, some jacks. He does have some 7s, but he has far more combinations of just 2 overcards. He has far more combinations of gut shot straight draws, of flush draws. That there's a lot more hands that I'm ahead of than I'm behind. So that's part of my range analysis. I'm ahead of more than I'm behind based on what he could be calling me here with. So I'm going to bet probably about half the pot here. A little more because I want to charge those anything else is going to fold. But those draws, the gut shots, the flush draws, those are going to call a half pot bet. So sometimes you'll see me betting smaller. When there's a flush draw on the board, I'm going to bet a little bit larger, probably about half the pot rather than a third of the pot because I can get them to call if he happens to have one. He checks, I bet, he calls. Okay, flop comes a 6. Now this doesn't hit any of his straight outs. His straight outs could have been 8-9, could have been 9-10, could have been 9-8, but that doesn't. So the 6 doesn't complete any straight. I'm not really scared of a six. Jack six, even if he had Jack six, which is highly unlikely, he would still be behind, he would still be just as much ahead of me as he is now. And so really the same thing happens. Nothing has really changed. I'm behind the jacks, which are possible, but there are not many combinations of jacks you can have. I'm behind sevens, which is unlikely, but still possible. I'm behind pocket sixes now, which could have called me there, but that's it. I'm still ahead of all the flush draws, all the gut shot straight draws, and even all the, the hands where he has two overcards that might call a bet. I'm going to try to bet again, probably around the same size. Let's see. He checks. I bet a little more than half pot. He calls again. Okay, now he calls again. Now at this point, let's think for a second. Okay, let's think before the turn comes out. Okay, at this point, when I bet and he calls, what can he have? If he has a pocket, if he has a jack, ace jack, if he's got a jack, he's probably raising, he's probably raising the flop, betting into me, or certainly re-raising me. Why? It's because now there's a lot of draws on this board that I could have. I could still have a flush draw. I could have an 8-9, but the board is becoming more draw heavy. So the truth is he's very likely with a 7, he's almost certain to be raising me here, and with a jack, he's possibly, or even probably raising me if it's a strong enough jack. So I'm actually taking 7s out of his range likely here when he checks again on the turn, and when the river comes and brings out that 3, I'm pretty sure he's on a busted draw. Okay, now why is that important? Is because he checks to me again, and when he checks to me, now I'm thinking, what can call me that I'm ahead of? This is important. Before we said he can call me with flush draws or gut shot straight draws, they all missed. So they can't call me anymore if I bet. Is there any hand that I beat that he may call me with? Pocket 9s, maybe. Pocket 8s, maybe. Pocket 5s, possibly. Pocket 4s, possibly. A few hands, not too many. But there are plenty hands that now beat me, including a 7, which I don't think he has as possible, including a single jack, including, so therefore, I think there are as many, if not more hands that beat me, that would call a bet here that beat me, and very few hands that would call a bet. And by the way, even all those pairs we mentioned, pocket 9s, pocket 8s that I beat, they may not call a third bet here anyway. So I decide that there's more hands that I beat than that beat me that would call than that. I decided therefore it's not a good reason for me to bet, and therefore I check behind. I hope, which I do, and he shows king 3. He had a flush draw like I thought. He would not have called into the bet on the river, and therefore I made the most here charging his draws. It's an important lesson to learn. Okay. Next hand is going to be the same lesson. Same lesson, different look. Where is it? Here we go. Much shorter hand. Okay, let's take a look. All right, I'm under the gun with pocket 4s. I raise, fold. We got a fold and a great situation. Notice again, all these hands in position. I'm playing in position. This player has been playing 60% of hands, but not very aggressive. So that's who we're up against. It's a player that I feel I can take advantage of. Also, please note that I've only played one hand of the stable apparently so far. I have 20 hands, so I have a very tight range. It's also why I'm more, pocket 4s you can raise 5-handed pretty much anywhere, but I don't even think about that. Of course, I'm raising with anything playable at that point because I have such a tight image. Any case, I raise 3 big blinds. He calls. Flop comes Jack 7-3. Now let's look at his calling range. His calling range has a lot of straight draws, has a lot of flush draws, and this flop does not connect with any straight or flush draws. His calling range also has lots of ace X's, lots of king X's, a couple jacks, a couple 7s, not many 3s. So his calling range is a ton of hands that do not connect with this board. So even though I don't like this board with 2 overcards, he doesn't know that. I could have a jack. I could have a bigger pair. And so therefore I'm definitely betting because I can take down the pot now. I definitely don't want to see any other cards because, again, any other card that comes out is likely to be ahead of my 4 and to make it even more difficult for me. So he checks. I bet. Oh, no, he checks. Whoops. He checks and I check behind. So I don't know. I think that may be a bet there. Either way, I check behind there. And by the way, you see, I make mistakes when I'm playing as well, because it happens so quickly. That's the whole point. That's why you do the work off the table. So in any case, I check behind. I think I should have bet there. Here comes a queen. Same thing. What's his range? Now, by the way, he doesn't have any jacks in his range. Let's see what happens. Well, let me tell you why. Is because he checks to me. So before it's my turn to bet, what am I thinking? I'm thinking, okay, I thought he may have a jack. But now, after I checked back the flop, and then he now checks the turn, he's basically telling me he doesn't have a jack or really a queen either, because he would bet this queen now too. So now I feel confident he doesn't have a queen or a jack. Very unlikely he has a 7. A 3 doesn't really scare me because I'm ahead of that anyway. And so basically he's giving me the green light to bet and take this flop down, which I do, which I bet. He calls. Okay, what can he be calling me with here? Could be calling me with hearts. Could be calling me, he could be calling me with, sorry, what could he be calling me when I bet here? He could be calling me with hearts. He could be calling me the flush, with the straight draw. Queen and jack is unlikely, because those would lead out. So it looks like a very draw-heavy board over here to me. So when we get to the river, he checks, and when he checks the river, I say to myself, it feels like a busted straight draw, a busted flush draw. I think I'm ahead of him. But again, same situation. I really don't think I can bet here, because the only thing that'll call me if I bet here are hands that beat me. They may even accidentally, they may call like hero calling, like A7, and so therefore I choose to check behind. And he had a busted flush draw, and I get to take the pot. And again, that's the power of position, because I would have never won. Just an important note to notice is I would have never won either of those hands without the help of being in position. They would have been able to see me checking in advance instead of me seeing them, and it would have been them betting into me instead of me betting into them and taking those pots down. Okay. Now come the 3 money pots. These are the really important pots. Okay. These are super important pots that I want you to see, and it's the power of combo draws, the power of suited connectors, the power of position, all into one. Take a look. Okay, we're up against the raise on the button. This guy does not raise very often. We've both been playing relatively snug games. I'm Jack 9 suited on the button. Again, on the button with Jack 9 suited, I'm calling. We did that work last time. We saw Jack 9 suited connects over 30% of the time. And when it does, it allows me to put a lot of pressure on the other guy. So let's see what happens. I call, fold, flop comes 9, 7, 8. Now you may not realize what a great flop this is. Why is this a great flop? It's what's called a combo draw. Why? Because I have 3 different things going for me. None great, but when put together, they actually give me a lot of equity. Why is because I have top pair. That's already good. I have a gut shot to a straight, right? A 10 gives me a straight. And I have a backdoor, meaning, the flop and the turn flush draw. If a spade comes on the turn, then I pick up equity towards the river, for a flush draw. So again, I have what's called a combo draw. I have 3 different ways to win. And in position, that allows me to put a lot of pressure on him. In fact, if you take a look at something very interesting, if you see, I set this up on O ranges. If you look at this hand against even just pocket aces, I have 36% equity here. Now, again, it's not a favorite, but I picked specifically the strongest hand in the business, on purpose. You factor in, just factor in ace king, along with that, and all of a sudden I'm a 65% favorite if he could have ace king or aces there. You factor in kings and it drops to 59%. But my point is that this is a really strong hand to have. And I wanted you to realize the strength of that. How do we get back to that? Okay, getting back to our hand. So what happens? He checks, and I bet 2/3 pot. Right? Again, I'm happy if he calls. If he calls, we could be playing for stacks later. And if he folds, I take down the pot, and I'm really happy. As it turns out, he just folds. And again, given that power, I'm able to push off an early raiser with a lot of equity backdoor. Because again, also for an early raiser, this is a flop 9, 8, 7 that doesn't hit early raisers ranges very well at all. And it crushes my calling range. That's also important to note. Okay, 2 more hands, and these are good ones. And you'll notice that the second hand looks a lot like the first one. So let me, hold on. How do I get to sharing? Boom, get up to the top. Sorry, guys. I can't even hit pause. You just have to bear with it. Share screen, here we go. Okay. All right, here's a fun hand. Take a look. Okay, same situation. Jack 9 suited on the button, except for it folds to me. There's a difference. So I do my standard 2.5 times raising, okay? This guy 3-bets me. Now, what do you do here? Well, the first thing you do is you look at you look at my image. I haven't been very aggressive so far. So that means I have a pretty straightforward image. That means that they could have me on, as one of those people that only raises with big hands. But even more important is this guy in 53 hands has only raised 3 times. He's got a very, very tight range. Now, when it's easier, if the guy had raised about 18% of the time, I knew he'd have a much wider range of hands he can play, and therefore I'd have more difficulty reading him after the flop. Because he raises so seldom, I believe that he's got a very narrow range of hands, all ahead of Jack 9. But it's almost like set mining, where if I happen to hit a big flop, which you're about to see that I will, it's the kind of thing where I can really make a lot of money, putting tremendous pressure on him, or winning his entire stack. So I choose to call here, and it's an interesting thing. I call because he's such a predictable player that I am likely to know where I am depending on the flop. Okay, flop comes, Jumanji. Again, a tremendous combo draw, even better than the last one. Why? I have middle pair. Now that's very good. I could, if I'm up against ace king, I could be good. But I also have a flush draw, 2-card flush draw, which is really valuable. And I have a backdoor straight draw. Backdoor, again, I don't have a straight draw right now, but if I pick up a 10, 8, or king, then I would have a straight draw, either gut shot or 2-card straight draw, to go with my flush draw and my middle pair. And in fact, if you look, and I'm sorry, this is going to take a second, we're going to share again O ranges. If you take a look at 7-9 suited here, let's clear this off. If you take a look at 7-9 suited on a board, what was that board? Hold on, I'm looking, even though you guys can't see, it was Queen, Jack, 2 with 3 clubs. So Queen of clubs, 2 of clubs, Jack of hearts. Okay, then if you take a look, and let's give him 10s plus, and let's just say ace queen suited because he's very tight. So I'm not up against a very strong range. I'm up against a very strong range. If you look against this range, I actually have 43% equity. I have a lot of equity here. And by the way, if you think he actually plays, a bunch of other suited connectors and throw an ace queen, maybe throwing Jack 10, Jack 10 suited and Jack 10 off, all of a sudden my equity is down to 30 because I'm blocking the jacks. But my equity should be somewhere in the 30s, which is just very interesting to see, in close to 40%. So I have a lot of equity is my point. Geez, I'm stuttering here, but we're just going to have to deal with it. Okay, so let's finish this hand, and the last hand is very quick and very satisfying, almost. So in any case, flop comes, he checks to me. Oh, he leads into me. Sorry, I forgot. He 3-bet me. So when he 3-bet me, he's got the betting lead. He leads into me. Now, what do you do here? You have 2 options. You can just call and realize your equity, or you can re-raise and put pressure on him. I believe that I chose to re-raise here. Let's see. I did. I chose to re-raise him. I re-raised him about the size of the pot. I put a lot of pressure on him. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm giving myself 2 ways to win. If he's got ace king, if he's got, if he's got pocket 10s, then I take the pot down right now, no worries. If he's got aces, if he's got ace queen, if he's got ace king, I put a lot of pressure on him. And then if the turn comes with another jack, a 9, or any of the 9 clubs, well, now I'm ahead and can really put pressure on him and maybe even get his entire stack. As the case is, he folds, and I take down the pot, probably against a strong hand, with the power of, with the suited 1 gapper on the button. Okay, last hand. This is the same. I forgot to tell you, those Jack 9 hands were the same guy. And now, finally, against the same guy, I've been raising him a lot. Putting a lot of pressure on him. And again, that's important because, then if you have an image of being wild, once you get a hand like I'm about to have, then you can get his entire stack. And as you'll see, the plan, everything goes according to plan, except for, aces gets cracked. I've been losing with aces a lot lately. This happens to be another one of those times. He raises. Now, you've seen me 3-bet him before, last hand, raise him a bunch, and put a lot of pressure on him. So he's used to this. So when I re-raise, nobody's taking me seriously. And then, surprise, surprise, this guy, this guy four bets me to 13. And as crazy as it is, then our guy just jams all in, and I'm licking my lips because I get it all in, as does this other guy. Okay, and so I have aces in a $172 pot. What's my expected value here? Probably probably $130, probably $120. I don't even know what my expected value is, but you're about to see that I'm going to get a zero. This guy has ace king, I remember, and this guy is crap. And of course, this guy spikes the king, king queen. So again, I got it all in pocket aces against ace 10 and king queen. Everything went according to plan, but you know what? Even when things go according to plan, sometimes probably about 25% of the time in this situation, you lose. I wish it would have been one of the other 75% of the time where I took down the $155 pot because I had aces cracked a lot tonight. But that's what happens. You go on streaks where you lose a lot, but you're able to see you played it well, your plans worked, and then sometimes the poker gods just laughed at you and called you dirty words. All right. I hope this was helpful. Sorry for the delays and the stuttering. I think I'm a little tired.